Hi everybody, it's Mike from Here the Watchman, and we've got a new show today, a different show that we're going to do here, and we're gonna try and bring some light onto one of the biggest crises going on in America today, and that, of course, is what's happening on the border. We're just grateful to have with us Stewart Rhodes. He is the founder of the Oath Keepers. We're going to talk to him about a border update and also talk a bit about what the Oath Keepers really do, because a lot of us don't understand, and believe me, you need to understand. Stewart, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, Stewart, just briefly, tell us, please, as much as you can about what is actually happening on the border, because most of us in America only see what we see on mainstream media. There's a big hoopla yesterday about, I don't know, 12 people being arrested at the border, some church group that went there. And then they're talking about, oh, there's 4 or 5 guys crawling underneath the fence and they're immediately arrested. But something in me senses that there's a much bigger picture that's not being told. Can you enlighten us?
Well, yeah, this is one of the weird things about this caravan is that it brings all the focus to, and they went to the San Ysidro crossing, which is a place that actually has the most effective security period on the border. It's got a large section of fence and it's been beefed up by the Border Patrol, being brought from Canada and shifted over from other areas, along with a little bit of military. So what you see what you see is a distorted picture. It's distorted on both sides, frankly. The leftists want to. I think the reason why they sent the caravan to San Ysidro is they wanted to have them try to get over this wall and show poor refugees and asylum seekers being thwarted by this horrible mean wall and this meanie president. Well, the reality is the rest of the border is wide open. And so on the conservative side, people see also the wall and they think, the military presence, and they think, well, Trump's beefing the border up with the military. Look at this. And so they're also seeing a false perception. So both sides are getting it wrong. The leftists are saying, oh, Trump's militarizing the border, as though that's a bad thing. And the right's saying, well, Trump's militarizing the border, yay, as though he's really doing that. And this is not the truth. The border, other than those certain areas that have been beefed up at the major crossings, the major ports of entry, the rest of the border is wide open. I was there in fact, I'll be posting up later today some pictures from the border, from McAllen and then from Brownsville. It's just wide open. You stand on it's as though the Rio Grande was a irrigation canal in the middle of a bunch of fields. There's fields and some trees and some more fields. Then there's this, canal and there's more fields. You wouldn't know where you are. You can't tell you're in the United States or in Mexico. You have no idea. You can walk right across and be in Mexico, and there's nothing to get in your way, and vice versa. So the border is completely wide open. So I think the president, in some ways, is also being given a false perception. He sees the same thing we're all seeing. And he's being told by his handlers, by those around him, that this is the crisis on the border. Is these caravans are coming in, and we got to stop them. And what's really going on is the day-to-day grind is thousands, many more times than those caravans come across every day. I was on some ranches here in Texas. I'm in Texas right now at an Oath Keeper's house. But just 3 days ago, I was on some ranches in Texas where 30 miles in, they march all night from the border because nothing's there to stop them in the dark, and then they get picked up on pickup trucks by the major highways about 30 miles in, and they cross these ranches so much that some of the big ranchers, their fences get torn down by guys just stepping on them. Thousands of feet stepping on the fences will tear them down after a while, and they'll just go ahead and build into the fence. They built in a ladder, a steel what do you call it? A steel pipe ladder right over the fence, so the illegals can climb over the fence without hurting the fence. That's the reality among these ranchers. They just kind of given up. So, the reality on the actual border is it's wide open. There's no military on the border. There's hardly any border patrol. The other day in McAllen, I was being given a tour by a local Marine veteran, and we were out there for about an hour before we saw any border patrol. In 1 hour, two border patrol agents in 1 hour. That's the reality.
If you look at it, the whole caravan could be a wonderful distraction.
Yeah.
To put all this attention down in San Ysidro, down along the board, right there in Tijuana and all that stuff. And everybody's looking there. Well, the other parts of the border are wide open, as you mentioned, and I have seen those pictures, and it's much like Canada. There are points of our country on both sides where if you and I were walking along, we wouldn't know where we were. We could be in the States or we could be in another country. And so I think that is a deception. Now, you guys are going down there. Are you basically providing another set of eyes to kind of keep a watch on what's going on down there?
Exactly. So we have both in the air and on the ground volunteer eyes and ears. That's what we're doing. We did a call to action the other day. We got a pretty good response. So across the border from California all the way to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, we're putting people on the border. And a big focal point for us is which is kind of new, is the air. Having volunteer pilots. I'm going up on a flight tomorrow with one of our volunteer pilots to fly along the border in Texas, and we'll be putting a video up. Alex Jones is sending one of his video cameramen with us to videotape from the air. But we want to be force multipliers for the Border Patrol, and that's what we're doing. And we've already done this across the border, and we'll continue to do so. So we definitely we need volunteers. If you're a pilot, or if you know some pilots, have them contact us on our website. There's a call to action, should be posted at the top of the site. The email to volunteer is volunteers@oathkeepers.org. Just go to that email and let us know. If you're a pilot, let us know what state you're in, like volunteer pilot for X state. And if you want to be an observer in a plane, then you can volunteer for that. And if you want to be on the ground, you can volunteer for that. So ground volunteer, observer volunteer, or pilot volunteer. And if you want to donate to that, you can also go there and donate. We definitely need the financial support to pay for the fuel for the pilots.
Well, let's look at this. I mean, there's a lot of bad press about organizations like the Oath Keepers. There's been some documentaries out there with, guys that look like they just got out of prison, running up and down the border with AR-15s and things like that. This is not what you guys do. When you see something, what's the call to action once you see something?
Well, what you do is you go and coordinate with local border patrol. So we always do. Make sure you know who to contact. Make sure they know that you're out there. We let them know where we're going to be. They know exactly what we're doing. So we coordinate with them so that there's no mistaking us for anybody else. Like when we're flying, of course, let them know we're flying. Let them know where we're flying and the tail numbers, etc. So they know who we are. And same thing goes on the ground. And we just call in and report. And they appreciate the extra eyes and ears, and they appreciate the tips. If you call it in, like a rancher will call it in, same thing a rancher would do. Just extra eyes and ears. There's just not enough Border Patrol. The ones that we've interacted with and we've met and talked to are all dedicated and trying to do the best they can, but there's just not enough of them. I mean, in the sector down by Brownsville, another local retired police officer I spoke to said that Border Patrol, they would need about 3 times as many men there to do the job right. There's just not enough. They're down by 2/3 what they should be. So it's just, there's not enough. And the ultimate answer is Trump needs to actually militarize the border. He needs to put the military full force on the U.S. border and actually seal it. That's what he needs to do.
Well, now you realize we have a whole faction in this country that believes that, we should let these poor people come in and we should let them, we should try and help them and all that. And what's your view of all that? And how do you feel? What do you really think should be done with this immigration problem?
Well, what's really happening is that the cartels are taking over. They have taken over our border. The cartels are more effective at deciding who comes across the border than the U.S. government. If a coyote, for example, is trying to bring people across the border on his own, independent from the cartels, they'll cut his hand off or they'll cut his fingers off, and as a warning, or they'll just kill him. So no one gets across the border from Mexico to the United States without cartel permission. That's the first rule. So that's who's really controlling this traffic, and they bring across their drugs. They bring across, OTMs. They bring across people from the Middle East, from Africa, from all over the world, China. A retired Border Patrol agent let me know that in Texas that he caught like 40 Chinese people one time. So they're from all over the world. It's not just poor people from Mexico or Central America who are fleeing, oppression or a bad economic situation. It's people from all over the world. It could be absolutely anybody, including jihadists who want to come here and kill us. So that's the reality on the border. Or MS-13 gangbangers who run the drugs on the U.S. side. It's the gangs in these local border communities who control the traffic. They're the ones who go do the pickups for the cartels. So it's, and of course they do bring across people other than drugs, but a lot of them are sex slaves, women and children being brought across into the United States to be forced into prostitution all over this country for the illegal farm workers. That's who they wind up servicing. Sometimes 50 men a night per girl. Imagine that, as an existence. You're being tortured every night, being raped every night, 50 times over. That's who they bring across. So for leftists to make it look like, like I said, it's this meanie president, all of us, xenophobes who don't like brown people. That's what they want to portray us as. And it's not about that. It's about the cartel turning this country into a narco state along our border, just like they do in Mexico. They're slowly taking over border towns and counties. And just like with Miami with the drugs wind up fueling the local economy, and people just give up or they join in and participate and get the perks. That's the corruption that's happening now across the border.
Wow. Well, listen, our hats here at the Watchmen are definitely off to you guys. We appreciate everything that you're doing, and we will do everything we can to help you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the overall Oath Keepers, because you guys have an incredible mission that you're trying to support. I know you've had the hurricanes and the natural disasters here in the United States that you go in and do things at. We've been fortunate enough to try and help you. Coach Dave's tried to help you. Chance at American Survival Wholesale has helped you guys. Talk to us about what that mission is and how people can get involved in helping with that.
Well, much like we do with almost anything we do, we look at find a need and fill it. And there's a lot of gaps in the official response to a natural disaster. This is why the Cajun Navy became so famous. For example, the guys with their own boats, they just go out there and go rescue people. They cut right through the red tape, go right around all the nonsense, the bureaucratic nonsense from FEMA, and just go get it done. We're much the same way. Our niche is providing guys on the ground who can go into an area right after the disaster hits, who aren't afraid of local gangbangers or the local looters, who will go in and escort medical personnel. Security is a big issue. When you have a breakdown in the social services after a hurricane, one of the breakdowns is in police services. And so just most recently in Florida, we wound up being in security for 2 different towns at the invitation of the mayor because they didn't have a police force. And they relied on the local county sheriff who was overwhelmed. And so they wound up with looters looting the mayor's office and also the fire department. And so we went in there and backed the fire department guys up who were out there doing their own volunteer security as best they could. They were pulling night shift security, protecting the infrastructure of the town against looters, and during the daytime trying to go do their job as firefighters. They were getting burnt out. So we stepped in and filled in for them. So we do a lot of medical checks. We have our own medics, and we also escort medics, medical personnel who otherwise wouldn't go into an area because it's not safe. Because there are gangbangers. It's just reality. There's tweakers. There's people on meth. They'll take advantage and they'll go out there and loot. And so we fill the void of bringing security along with search and rescue and along with medical. And that's a unique niche because a lot of our guys are ex-military or police. They can do that while they're doing all the other work they're doing. They're providing security.
Well, that's just great work. How do people help you out?
Well, they can do 2 things. They can volunteer to help us, or they can donate to help our volunteers. So if you can be boots on the ground or in the air, like we're doing right now, I'm on the border, please volunteer. If you can't make it in person, then I would, really encourage you to go donate to support those who can. Unless we get donations that come in to support it, we wind up, being dead in the water. Can't do much of anything if you don't have fuel, if you don't have logistical support. So we do need help. We need financial support from folks. They can go to oathkeepers.org, main site, and find our donate button and please donate.
That's awesome, Stuart. Oathkeepers.org. About oathkeepers.org is you can go there and you can read a lot about what the Oath Keepers are doing. So you're better. We get requests from organizations like across the board, both secular, and non-secular for support and help. I do not hesitate to help the Oath Keepers when the Oath Keepers ask. You know, now granted, I have a lot of Oath Keepers that are my buddies now, and I kind of get the early warning about like, uh-oh, we're going to need some help. But you know, go to their site and keep abreast of what they're doing and what's going on. You know, Stuart, again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're super busy down there on the border. Just want to let you know again how much we appreciate and how much the Christian community appreciates what you do. You know, the Oath Keepers do what only the brave will do, and you know, we're just so tickled pink that you guys are there, and thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one last thing I want to say is, as far as what should be done, is we need to encourage President Trump to do a full military deployment on the border and use the military to build the wall. That's what he needs to do. He's not going to get it through Congress. It's a matter of national security, and as a commander-in-chief, it's what he should do. He should just use the military to do it, get it done. Because otherwise, we're going to be swamped with people that'll become Democrat voters, and you'll lose your ability to self-govern. It's pretty serious.
Well, thank you for that. And you know, we all as individuals have a voice. So get together. Let's get your voice heard. We'll do it for today on the Watchman's Report. God bless each and every one of you for listening. Oathkeepers.org. Get there. Get busy. If you're really an American and you're sitting at home like I am, doing a YouTube channel or doing something, get out there and get busy and do something to really show your patriotism. Oathkeepers.org. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.